RWP is brought to you by Porch Beer Entertainment.
Dickens, Hemingway, Tolkien. These are some of the greatest writers of our generation. But this isn't about them. This is the exact opposite. Welcome to the Bad Book Club with your hosts, Ben and Salty Dalton.
I mean, we literally had a chance to podcast the week before, and you were like, "Oh, I'm busy."
No.
We literally every Thursday.
That's not true. You said, "Oh, well, okay, yes, that was true."
Yes, every Thursday
Abby
there
bought
is
tickets
never
for something a long time ago, and I was like, I'm not going to be like, "Hey, I don't want to go to that." She bought the tickets. It was Colin Jost at George Mason Homecoming. He did a stand-up set. It was pretty fun.
All I'm saying is, like, I was planning for that Thursday, and you said no, and I was like, okay.
But then you
so you forced us to miss one.
I'm just like refreshing your memory. So this is a microphone. So you talk into here, and then these are like, your little tiny headphones.
I'm aware. I listened to the last DC crossover podcast.
Oh, nice. I appreciate that.
No, after you said you were going to stop, I unfollowed.
How many other trips do you have coming up, man?
I'm back in town this week, and then March 9th, I'm out again.
Okay.
Until we negotiate this contract.
Okay.
Until it's done.
So you won't be coming back until that's done?
No. I'm alternating. So I go from Virginia to wherever we need to go for the contract, and then we go back to Virginia.
Okay.
Until it's done.
The question is, when you're in your hotel room late at night, like, are you just like sitting in your room watching TV?
No. Let me tell you exactly how it goes when we travel for work, okay? And everyone's always like, "Oh yeah, you get to travel a lot. Must be nice." Tell you what,
I've heard this.
I leave on
traveling,
Sundays.
It's more work than if you were just.
Yes, I don't. Yes, it is, because all you have there is work.
Yeah.
So, I've been leaving. We've had to leave on Sundays, so not even during a work week. So, I get in to the hotel.
Yeah.
After a really flight.
Been staying in some nice hotels?
No. Within the government per diem rate. No, I'm a Marriott guy.
Okay. I like it, the big M.
So I get to the airport. I have 1 to 2 beers.
Okay.
I get on my flight.
Yeah.
I arrive back at the other airport.
Sure.
It's either like a 4-hour flight or a 2-hour flight, depending on if I'm going to Florida or Texas.
Or west. Yep.
And then I get a really rental car.
What airlines have you been flying?
American, United.
Okay. United, solid. American, yeah.
I have a lot of American miles, so I'm just trying to...
I did a Southwest for the first time in a long time.
And
That's
then
Wild, Wild West.
So and then I get a really rental car. The last 2 rental cars I've had, garbage.
Yeah.
One was a giant minivan.
That's awesome.
I went over a pothole, and all the electronics in the car shut off.
Oh, okay.
For a while, and then it just came back on. So I drive to the hotel. Check in. And then go to sleep. And then starting on Monday, I wake up.
Yep.
I shower.
What time?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
I shower. Down there at 6:45. Start eating the meager-free breakfast. Go to
the hotel breakfast.
Yep.
You've been a hotel breakfasting up.
Yeah,
right
because
there.
that way I save money. Because per diem I get about $66 a day.
Okay. That's pretty good.
I go to work. Yeah, it's decent. And Texas is cheap, and Florida is relatively cheap. It's close to this area, but in Orlando anyway. I go to work. We do about 12-hour days.
Okay.
I get back to the hotel around 7 or 8. Go upstairs. Take a shit.
Yeah.
Get changed. Meet everybody. Go to dinner.
Oh, so because then you have to go to dinner.
Yep. Go to dinner at about 8 o'clock at night.
Oh,
which is weird.
You do understand? I eat dinner at 4:30.
We go. Yeah. No, same. It's literally what I'm going from dinner at 5 to dinner at 8. Eat a full dinner at 8. Wrap up around 9. Go to a bar.
And then everybody wants to go get drinks.
Go to a bar from about 9 to 10. Maybe 9 to 11, depending on if. Like, we're just kind of, they have darts there.
Now, when you're paying for the beers, is that with the per diem money or with your own money? Okay, it's with the per diem.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the same. It gets reimbursed to our personal card. So I basically think of it as I have a $69 credit, and then anything over that $69 per day is out of pocket, but it's not separated that way.
Got it.
So, and then get back to the hotel. Around
like 11? Yeah.
Fall asleep. Wake up at 6:30 in the morning.
And do the same thing.
Do the same thing, working 12-hour days, and then the last day, we stay out a little later to celebrate, get drinks, go to the airport, Next day, I fly over. I wait in baggage claim. I get my I get in an Uber. Then I go home.
So because I had pictured in my mind you, almost naked, laying in the hotel bed, watching random Sports Center or whatever on the TV at 9:00 at night, really doing nothing.
Nope.
Because when I used to go on work trips, that's what I would do. Is I'd tell everybody, "Hey, I'll see you at whatever bar," and then I would never go. I would order in room service, or I'd go to a fast food place, bring it back to my room, eat it in my room alone, and then go to sleep at 8:00.
I will say Texas has a lot of good eateries, so
They do.
We'll go to barbecue and stuff like that. But we're eating late. We don't get back to the hotel until at minimum. So far, the last month and a half, we have not gotten back to our hotel before 6:00. So it's at least 6 to 7 is normally when we arrive in the hotel.
Wow.
From working, and then we have to go get changed and go out and eat.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. So, because in my mind, I was like, man, maybe there'll be a chance of him being able to call me from the hotel at
yeah, that's why
6
I called
o'clock.
you in between changing.
Yeah, you gave me a solid 15 minutes, which was worthwhile because the fans got to experience something. Did you have a chance to listen to the RWP interview?
No, I haven't.
Episode?
Not yet.
Okay, you should. You should listen to it. It's pretty good. It was like I was testing different co-hosts.
No, I'm
the future.
I'm super excited. Yeah, for when I eventually just have to travel my entire life.
Actually, it went really well. I'd say Pete did well. He was his
Did
typical.
you call Mandy too?
No, she never told me to. Pete was pretty good. We had some new voices on the radio. Dan, who's Molly's boyfriend, my friend Molly's boyfriend, Dan. He was really good. He's a government guy as well. He was like, "Hey, don't mention that on the air," and I was like, I did. My brother was on.
What kind of government work does he do?
I don't know.
We're public service. My salary is public record.
Oh, I know.
Anyone.
I look it up every day. Intern
Although
Will.
I did just get a tentative offer for my GS13.
Nice. So now you'll make $6 an hour. That's good.
No, I'll show you later.
So intern Will was on. Matthew Scarborough was on. My brother-in-law.
Yeah. I know Matt. Matt and I hang out regularly. So.
You always say that, but that's never been the case. I don't think you met him at my wedding, and that was it.
Well, I mean, the offer's on the table.
Mike,
the ball is in his court.
From the DC crossover, Mike made an appearance.
Yes,
he did. We kind of did our own little bits.
Yeah, and you guys started talking about sports. Bits. Yeah,
it was good. No, it was really funny. Richard Frame did not appear. It was too late. He was at trivia night. He was at trivia night.
Could have called in during. We could have done a guest trivia spot.
It would have been great. But trivia night ended too late, and I was like, "Well, dude, I've already edited the show, so I can't exactly just throw yours in there." But by the way, I guess this was kind of a cold open. Hello, Rando Nation. We are back on.
Oh, you mean all that Marriott stuff? Yeah. By the way, traveling for work, not that fucking fun.
Yeah.
We have there might be, depending on when my flight is on that Friday. Well, if we fly out that Friday, if I have an extra hour to myself, maybe I'll go explore the sites. But there's not much to see in Fort Worth, Texas, or Orlando, besides Disney World, which I just came back from.
Yeah, it's not like you have the time. You don't have the time to go.
And it's $400 to walk in there.
Yeah,
so
you can't just walk. Hey, do you mind if I just walk in?
I saw a really funny meme where it was like, it was for consultants. It was like, oh, you travel the world? It must be amazing. And then it just said My World, and it was 6 different pictures of the different types of Marriotts. And I was I've never felt more connected to that.
So, Rando Nation, this is the return of the Bad Book Club.
BBC.
As we are going to be giving you the new book here.
Just don't
this episode.
Google BBC.
Yes, don't Google that. It's funny, weird side note on just that. So we're talking to this guy who's part of the Raiders fan club, which is called the Black Hole.
Yeah.
And I told my boss, hey, I
When were
searched.
you talking to, for mascot?
Yeah. So I told my boss, I was like, I searched Black Hole on Google, and it went some places I didn't want it to go.
That's why you saw those weird search histories on my.
Yeah, that was it. They were like, but what does that have to do with this other thing that we just saw you look up? It's like, it's all connected. The book here is called Beneath This Mask. It is by Megan March. And this is going to be the new book. So this one is actually an actual book, not a novella this time.
So I guess I thought it was going to be all from the point of view of the guy, which I was really excited for, but it actually switches back and forth. It switches
around. So it's a little different. We'll get into chapters 1 through 5 on this episode. And you can, as always, you can follow along and read. Again, this is a free Kindle ebook. And this is Megan March, who, here's a little... Here's a little bio on her, Salty Dalton, from
You
her
read
website.
the bio, and then I'll read her other titles
Sure.
in case those of you who have been following along are absolutely dying to crack into her other works.
Here we go. This is about the author for Megan March. Making the jump from corporate lawyer to romance author was a leap of faith.
Corporate lawyer to No, I think, did she get disbarred? Because no one just stops being a lawyer and goes, romance novels, that's what I'm going to work.
It was a leap of faith that New York Times, #1 Wall Street Journal, and USA Today bestselling author Megan March will never regret. With over 30 titles published, she has sold millions of books in nearly a dozen languages to fellow romance lovers around the world. A nomad at heart, she can currently be found in the woods of the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Living her happily ever after with her real-life alpha hero. She loves hearing from her readers at meganmarchbooks@gmail.com. You know what that means, Salty Dalton.
We have
At
to
some
write an
point,
email.
At some point, we got to try to get Megan March on this show.
Absolutely. And okay, it's either the Pacific Northwest or the Carolinas are where the romance novels flow
romance?
from. Are we in the wrong industry?
I think we are because she is New York Times
listen,
best-selling, Wall Street Journal best-selling.
I will say that compared to
This is a better book.
compared to Eliza Gale and who was the first one? Allie Parker.
Allie Parker, yeah.
The syntax is better.
Yeah, the grammar is there.
much better. It's almost all there, and
It reads like a book.
it does read like a book, which
Yeah.
is nice. But still,
There's still some
I
issues.
could write this
Yes.
better.
And this, but you're
I
not a New
think.
York, New
But
York
I'm not.
Times bestselling
And that's what I'm
author.
saying. Like, nothing against her. She's making mad money off this. So
Oh,
why
sure.
aren't we developing our own series of romance novels?
I think a random a Porch Beer Entertainment
Romance
romance novel
We could crank
would be
one out.
incredible. Let's be honest. If you're a fan of that, let us know. Again, follow us on Instagram, by the way, at the Random Word Podcast, and then also RWP Bad Book Club on Instagram as well. We got to build up the Bad Book Club audience on the Instagram, as you can see the wonderful pictures drawn by Richard Frame, our graphic designer. I actually had him prepare all of the chapters and all the little snippets and clips like a month ago. So I've got all of them ready to go.
Did you read the whole book already?
I've read the whole book. So I skimmed the whole book.
to find quotes.
Exactly. So I don't remember all the material from the second half of the book. But let me just tell you, it gets very interesting. But go ahead and read some other titles by Megan March.
So if you found yourself enthralled by this romance novel, the other titles by Megan March are as follows: Dirty Billionaire,
Okay.
Dirty Pleasures,
Oh.
Dirty Together, Dirty Girl, Real Dirty, Real Sexy. I'm sorry.
This is a
There's
corporate lawyer that decided, you know what?
I love how just like
Yeah.
Dirty Billionaire, just covered in mud. Dirty Pleasures, Dirty Together, two people getting dirty. One particular dirty girl.
I wish it had said
She's
like
real dirty.
dirty garbage man. It's like a garbage guy just covered in garbage.
Beneath this mask is so different from this list.
Yeah.
Dirty mask.
That's the thing is Megan March, keep in mind though, she is a New York Times best-selling author.
And
apparently.
USA Today
So,
best-selling author.
I guess I do have to clarify because I've explained this podcast to people before, and then we go on the mics. It's called Bad Book Club, and then we go on the mics and we say like, well, this book was written by a best-selling author. So keep in mind, Bad Book Club is more of our objective opinion. As far as it being bad, so it's not necessarily built by the sales.
Plus,
Like,
it's free.
it's free Kindle ebook.
I think at that point, it's probably got to be one of their earlier works, right? One of the less
You would think.
selling ones.
Exactly, you would think. So again, this is going to work if the way this is going to work if the first time listening to the show is we are going to cover chapters 1 through 5 on the show today. We've got some notes, we've got some quotes, plenty of things to discuss. Right off the bat. Oh, am I boring you?
Sorry, Pete and I worked out today.
Oh yeah, nice.
A couple hours this
Intern
morning.
Pete. We brewed some beer together not too long ago.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't invited.
It was
so that's
well, you weren't here.
All right,
okay.
we just jump it in.
So Salty Dalton, real quick, you mentioned this a moment ago, and so we got to remind the people here. So with this book, the interesting thing is the POV, chapter to chapter, changes. So they Megan March lets us know at the beginning of each chapter whose point of view we are reading from, in a way. So with chapter 1, we start with Charlotte, and let's just dive in. So beginning of the book, Charlotte is recalling a scene from court where she is testifying against her father.
Yep.
It's revealed early in there.
So, are we just jumping in?
Yes.
So, so apparently she's in a courtroom, right? She's saying like she's been skinned and gutted. She just got off the witness stand. And I love how the aqua stare, my father's piercing aqua stare.
And keep in mind aqua, because that color eyes is going to come back in a few chapters, I will say. I have a note on that. So yes, her father.
Yeah, I have the same note. Yeah,
her father apparently has aqua eyes, I guess.
So basically he's wearing a navy pinstripe Armani suit jacket and diamond cufflinks. Her father was a general, flanked by his army of $1,000 an hour defense attorneys. Let me tell you something real quick.
Sure.
If you are a United States Service general,
he's not a general. They're saying it's a metaphor.
No.
He's not a general.
They're defense. No.
Did you think
he's a general?
Megan March tricked you? No, he's not a general. She was saying my father was a general, flanked by his army of $1,000 an hour defense attorneys. He's not a general. He's just he's a businessman.
No, there's no fucking way.
Yes, you were tricked by Megan March. Is metaphor, simile, whatever.
It was a metaphor. She said my father was a general.
He's not. He's not a military
I
general.
I could have sworn
the only military person is going to be found later on in the book when we meet Simon. No.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No, dude. I'm pretty fucking sure.
Dude, he's like a businessman.
Well, that was my whole thing. Was like.
Because she's saying it's like he's a general because here he's flanked by all of his lawyers left and right. That's all she's saying there. Wow. Don't tell me her writing got through that thick skull of yours. It went right in one ear out the other.
Oh, I thought I saw references because like it's basically like because the U.S. Attorney General and all this other stuff.
Well, yeah, they're going after him.
Well, when I was saying that's the other thing I was saying. Like, first of all, if he's a general. If he's wearing an Armani
Score one,
suit,
Megan March.
I guess
she tricked you. Now I'm sure she'll trick me at some point too. So I'm not gonna give you too much because I'm probably gonna have that same moment later on.
What I also love is they call out the outfit of every person.
Every character is.
And
the
I'm
outfit
just like,
is discussed.
It means nothing to me. I'd have to Google that outfit to know what that means.
So her father, not general, but has a bunch of lawyers around him. Her mother is there as well.
In a Chanel suit and tasteful gold jewelry. Like, it's good.
So
it's
clearly, rich family. Father rich, mother rich. And Charlotte is our main character. She takes a look at her mom, and she looks at her kind of in disgust, and she heads out the door. So she's
supposed to go back and sit down.
Sure.
And she just goes, F it, and she walks right out the courtroom
leaves
doors.
The courtroom.
I don't know what the policy is on that because every courtroom's different.
Sure.
But I figure if you're a main witness in this, you can't just leave.
And there's a lot of that we'll discuss in a little bit as far as kind of this whole concept of her kind of just leaving this case as a whole, right? And disappearing.
I have many
we'll into that.
questions on this.
So again, Charlotte, courtroom, father is on trial for something. We don't really know yet. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
And then she takes a look at her mother. She says, this, I'm getting out of here. She heads out. And the assistant U.S. attorney's words are ringing in her ear as she's walking out the door. The attorney saying, "How does it feel?" The attorney general, saying, "How does it feel to realize your privileged life has been paid for with other people's dreams?"
Yeah, and I was like, well, first of all, I mean, I don't know if they're blaming the daughter specifically.
Well, we get into that because they're and we might as well get into that right now. So the father. From what we can understand from the book, the father put on...
His name is Alistair.
Alistair Augustin.
Augustin.
Yeah.
It's a weird name. I'm sorry.
And basically, he seemed to have pulled off some sort of Bernie Madoff-esque Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. We're $125 billion.
This is a lot of money.
The issue I have, and Ali Parker did this too, worth billions for this financial company. The concept of money
is
$125 billion is more than Jeff Bezos, more than Bill Gates.
Yeah,
you're approaching like the budget that they give us for our defense program, which is the biggest, and we don't even get that per year. Yeah. So I don't know what company this is where he's just raking in billions of dollars.
Well, so let's do some math here. Okay, so 125 billion, because she mentions tens of thousands of savings for innocent victims is where he's told that money. So what was it? 125 billion. So let me type that on the calculator.
That's going to be 9 zeros.
2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
3,
3,
and 1, 2, 3.
I don't think the calculator even goes that high on the iPhone.
It should. You
does
turn it sideways.
Oh, good call. I didn't even notice that. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 125 billion, right?
No, that's 125 million, my friend.
Oh, let me
add
add
3 more zeros.
Okay. 125. Okay, 125 billion.
$125
so she
billion.
says tens of thousands of people. So let's say 50,000 people is what what she is alleging, that 50,000 people had $2.5 million in their savings, and that's what he was stealing.
But also, like, he was stealing it. If it disappeared in thin air, like just one day it was gone.
50,000 people. That's so. I mean, I know she doesn't say 50,000. We said 50.
But she only said tens of thousands. So if it was hundreds of thousands, there was a select group of people that he just stole all their money from.
And it's a Madoff-esque thing. She doesn't get too much into the dynamics, just about.
And the SEC's after him, the Department of Justice, and the U.S. Attorney. So I was just getting really concerned about like the. I don't have any experience in financial legal court matters, but it seems like. The 125 billion is so fucking excessive.
It's a large number.
That like there is no way that this man, if he was executing that scheme, would have done that. If I was leading a Ponzi scheme,
like how much did Bernie Madoff steal? Like,
I'd be stealing dollars a day.
Bernie Madoff. Let's see. Let me check the old wiki.
Like if you're handling investments, right? You invest.
So Bernie was 64 billion. So if that, the fraud was worth 64 billion. So that is like half of what she is saying that her father did.
And so he had to have done it like suddenly. And that's why he got arrested, because that's the whole point of like that investment stuff is like you take some of their money, you say you're going to invest it, you invest a chunk, you keep the other. So you just siphon it off and siphon off the interest.
And you keep promising people that you're going to get paid when this person gets paid, and that person gets paid, and it turns into that.
It's wild. So I mean, hundreds of,
and the money apparently has disappeared entirely,
just gone. He and her father refused to admit anything.
Yes,
and it's just like. And basically, and after the cross, and I highlighted that because I just been subjected to, like, must have Googled courtroom lingo instead of crossing.
Just say cross-examination.
Like, you never bring it up again. This is the only time when I saw that after the cross. I was like,
after the cross, in the
and
courtroom.
It was clear the U.S. attorney thought I should be joining him in an orange jumpsuit. So she thought if she's a witness, she's not on trial. Her dad is on trial.
Correct.
She's not going to be arrested, but she's like, everyone's after me.
And here's the thing. I mean, it's understandable that a family member of somebody who commits a heinous crime, financial murder, whatever, people would somehow associate them with that person. But those are like the general public. We're talking about the assistant U.S. Attorney General. So she is claiming in this book that the U.S. assistant U.S. Attorney basically was associating the daughter with the father's crime.
It's the U.S. Attorney General, right? The assistant U.S. Attorney General. Are they just called? Because if you just say U.S. Attorney, I'm just thinking United States Attorney. There are millions of them.
No, it's the Attorney General, so technically like the lawyer for the United States, basically. That's what the Attorney General is.
That's how I was interpreting that. So this is, obviously got a lot of press, and she just runs out of the courthouse.
So this government public figure is apparently associating the daughter with the crime, which is like what somebody on Twitter would be doing annoyingly, not somebody in this type of position.
And like while she's on the witness stand being like, oh yeah, how's it feel to know that all of your stolen? And if she didn't know, she's like, well, I mean, it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, how is she supposed to know any of this? But so she runs out of the courtroom,
and the press
reporters are right there.
They mob her. Charlotte, where's the money? Are you being charged? Did you cut a deal? Yeah, I cut a deal and I walked right out scot-free.
I like how Meghan Markle ask these questions as if, like, from the reporter's perspective, as if it was like TMZ,
Charlotte,
being outside the
U.S.
courtroom.
Post here. Where's the money?
Why would a reporter ask Charlotte, where's the money?
Charlotte, Fox 5's News, are you being charged or did you cut a deal?
I like how...
you can't just say that.
So they battered her with questions, and she just dove into a waiting cab.
Yep. And I think you have a note here too. Basically, she's just like, my plan was drop me off a couple blocks from home, sneak in the service entrance of the building. My strawberry blonde hair Heavy on the strawberry.
See, I marked this down as well because
What does that mean? Besides it, I'm picturing like pinkish
So
blonde.
strawberries are like
Reddish blonde hair. That's normally strawberry blonde. Like
Sure, but it's heavy on the red.
Heavy on the red.
Which I don't know if that exists. I've never seen. I mean, like strawberry blonde. Okay, it's got some traces of red hair in your blonde hair.
But she had to have gotten that done professionally.
I would think.
Yeah, and so she's like, it's the first to go.
As soon as I got out of this town.
Unless her hair is like bright red, I don't think it's noticeable.
Yeah, there's a lot of blonde.
There's a lot of blonde people in the world.
So she had a one-way ticket to Atlanta.
I fucking love that. My future, like, this is my end destination. You could go anywhere in the fucking world.
The dirty South ATL.
If you leave the U.S., like, they're not going to come after you
go to
because they have to do
Mexico,
extradition and stuff
Argentina.
like that. And we just
Go to
established
Europe.
she's not
She's
technically on trial.
Yeah, exactly. She's not on trial,
But it was
she
suspicious
doesn't really
that she
need
just
to
ran
flee.
out. Yeah.
That's the whole question. Is we're trying to figure this out. Is why is Charlotte, and maybe we'll discover this later in the book, but why does she feel the need to? I mean, moving out is one thing because their house is going to get seized. But why does she feel the need?
That's even
to
if it
go
gets seized,
to
yeah.
Atlanta.
That's what I'm saying. Where I could disappear to my final destination. If someone told me to run away and never look back, if I had to gather up all my
Where
shit,
can I really disappear? Atlanta, the ATL. I mean, come on, like
They would never find me
John,
there. Yeah.
all those guys down there, they can protect me. I think. See, in my mind, and let's discuss this. If let's say you're in Charlotte's situation, your dad, Papa Barker, gets charged with $125 billion Ponzi scheme. Okay, reporters are outside.
my first question: why am I still in student loan debt, Dad?
Yeah, Dad. Where's my money? So
I
reporters.
would go get interviewed, and I'd be like, "Well, clearly this is the first I'm hearing of $125 billion disappearing. I work for the federal government.
I have 2 parking spaces, and they're not even next to each other in my complex.
If it tells you anything, I still have a mortgage, which means I don't have enough money to buy my house flat out.
So if let's say you had to stay within the United States, where would you disappear to?
Where would I disappear to? Would be like Montana.
Montana's good. I'd say the northern woods of Michigan. For
Michigan,
me.
Montana, somewhere or just go to Canada, Mexico,
Well, yeah,
South
of course,
America, anywhere else. But
What about Atlanta? I mean,
that would be like
Atlanta,
me. That would be
catch
me.
some Braves games.
That would be like me
know?
saying like I've had enough. I'm running away. I'm gonna disappear off the grid. I'm going to Miami, Florida.
Yeah. I'd really like to just go to, I'm thinking about it. San Francisco seems like a good place to disappear. Really just kind of disappear.
So I guess she had already bought this ticket.
Yes.
So she knew she was
has a
going to run
ticket.
away.
Yeah. She has a ticket.
She was flying coach for the first time in her life. A
time
fact
in
she
her
wasn't
life.
proud of. She could have booked a first class ticket
She
with
has
the money
money.
before it was seized.
She lets us know that she has. She cashed in $20,000 worth of savings bonds to finance her escape. She tells us. So, why couldn't she use a little, like an extra $75 for a first class ticket?
It's a one-way flight too.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy round trip. A one-way flight
Dude, I would
to
go
Atlanta,
baller
Georgia.
status.
It's probably like $200 more to get first class priority boarding. Anyway, so she like puts on this giant
disguise.
Okay,
Yeah.
it sounds like what those like 1980s women would do in the convertible.
Sure.
Where they have the giant scarf tied.
sunglasses. Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically she kept her head down till the car slowed to a stop, tossing some bills at the cabbie. What I pictured was like she's unaccustomed to riding in a cab.
Yeah.
Like grabs
How
a
much
wad
do
of
these things even cost? $5,000? Here you go.
grabs a wad of money and throws it at the cabbie's face. Just throw some bills at the cabbie.
She's not used to this sort of transaction, apparently. Even though, if you've ever been in a cab, the price is right there on the display.
Yeah.
It says how much it costs.
51 floors. She's on the penthouse of a 51-story building.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stories.
It is. It's a lot of stories. She enters in the code. She pushes the door open and steps into this Manhattan home. It's this ultra modern Manhattan home. She mentions, which is going to be owned by the U.S. government apparently. So the FBI is going to find this.
Oh yeah, she found that $20,000 in her first communion Bible.
Yeah.
What?
Which is
Who stacks a Bible with $20,000?
apparently really rich scam people do, I guess. And also, So is this $20,000 part of the government seizure? I guess not, because I guess there were savings bonds. I don't know. So she she has one bag packed already, and the racks. So she let's see, what does it say? But a casual observer would never know I had taken anything from my walk-in closet. The racks of designer suits and couture my mother insisted I wear were untouched. The
Manolos.
shelves of Manolos and
Louboutin.
Louboutins.
Is that Louis? No,
I don't
that's not
know.
Louis
I'm not
Vuitton.
rich, so I don't
Is
know.
that
what
Louis
is.
Vuitton?
No. This is like a different.
It looks like Louboutins.
Yeah, Louboutin. God, the girls that listen to this podcast are gonna be like, you fucking idiots.
They're butchering it. Yeah.
We're intact. They had no place in my future.
Apparently, she worked at a charity, like a non-profit.
Yeah,
with a finance degree she just got.
So
if that sounds similar to the Ali Parker novel, right out of college.
Right out of college. So yeah, she talks about.
So she's got to be young. I think she's got to be like 20.
She's got to be
21,
in her 20s.
22.
Yeah,
There's no way she's 24.
Now the interesting thing is she talks about atoning for the sins of her father by throwing herself into charity work. So the assumption is
maybe she knew
father
about this.
had been either she already knew or her father had been accused of this or was starting because we know with the
maybe
the
he
law,
had been accused and he had actually
takes
been
a long
processed.
time.
It does. So maybe like as soon as she found out, she's like, "Oh, I'm working in charity."
Yeah, and then but apparently all the charity organizations have been like laughing her out of the organization. She's been saying she's been visiting them for months. Nobody wanted her.
She could have worked at her father's investment company.
She could also. I, for some reason, find it hard to believe that no charity companies would want a wealthy individual to come assist them in some charity work. Because in my mind, if I'm a charity, I'm looking for money at any chance I can get.
You want investors.
And that's the thing is she doesn't have to be the public face for the charity. She can just, hey, yeah, why don't you help out for a little bit? You can give us your money. We're not going to obviously put a press release saying the daughter of Bernie Madoff is helping us here.
Yeah.
But we can still use your help. But apparently every charity has laughed her out the door.
And she stripped out of her black Saint Laurent wool blazer and V-neck dress. I hope that means something to somebody because all I got out of that was she took off a very nice dress.
Yeah, so she changes her clothes. She said, this is the new me.
She hung him up and she put on some black skinny jeans, an American Apparel tank. She's
Very
like being so specific.
Very specific.
But like, what about these? It's like free advertising for these companies.
Yeah.
All I'm getting out of this is like, I need to go to check out these blouses and stuff.
Yeah, I think you should. I'd like you to wear a black Saint Laurent
She
wool
left her
blazer.
cell phone on the dresser. That's irresponsible.
Yeah.
Got a duffel bag. And then she went through the kitchen to the staff entrance. She has a staff entrance.
Yeah.
But also, she said she was going to come through the back door. She walked in through the front door, went to I don't know why she's trying to sneak out of an apartment no one is in because everyone else is in the courtroom.
Yeah, exactly. The trial, in theory, is going on right now. So that she left. So no one's really paying attention to where she is, you would think.
And she's like, it seemed fitting. Come in the front door one way. So she definitely came in the front door.
Yes.
And then leave out the back a different person.
So she runs into
she's
Juanita.
She's at it.
Juanita, which is the most stereotypical housekeeper name on the
I
planet.
love that entire exchange.
Yes. This housekeeper.
I wanted her to have plausible deniability.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So apparently Juanita has been part of her life for the last all my 22 years. So she's 22 years old. She lets us know right there.
Yep.
She kind of
Juanita is
stops
probably
her.
like a very nice person, probably
Exactly.
speaks very good English.
Yep.
Because she's also she understands the concept of what's happening, goes, you can't run from this, sweetheart. And she's like, Juanita, you don't understand. You're just the help.
Yeah,
I can run from this.
You don't get what's happening. $125 billion, Juanita.
I bet you Juanita has a finance degree.
100%. Juanita has stake in the
She's-
father's company, probably.
She's working for this $125 billion man.
So she
They
gets
probably
hugged.
make more than we do.
Why not? Juanita hugs her. And Charlotte mentions how Lizette, who's her mother, never hugs. And she would
cringe
cringe.
to see me hugging the help.
The help. Now, let's think about this for a moment
God
also.
Damn.
You got to think that. So Juanita has been part of her life for 22 years. So Juanita has known her for her entire life. If you think, for any reason, that her mother would find it weird that this housekeeper that's been in this house for 20 plus
22
years would hug her because she's kind of a member of the family, lives in the house, keeps track of the house, I assume helped raise this girl.
All I'm getting at this is that, like, the mom is probably just like, Juanita.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Juanita El Clino,
Yes.
the dish show.
The mom is 100% racist.
It's so racist.
But apparently the mother is the daughter of a plumber from upstate New York.
But refuses to look back at her grassroots.
Yeah. So they're kind of talking back and forth about, hey.
Gives Juanita a sealed envelope. Could you make sure my mother gets this? How about you leave it on the f***ing door?
Yeah, she gives her an envelope. And Juanita sends some words of wisdom here. She says, Charlotte, just because you are your father's daughter does not make you like him. That's the whole thing. I'm sure the U.S. Assistant Attorney General also has the same line of logic, where just because she's the daughter of him doesn't mean that she did the crime. But apparently that's not the case in this story, and she leaves the place. And
she's out of there.
Chapter 1. Okay, now we switch point of views, and
We're
we
going
enter
to
in
Chapter 2.
our boy,
Simon.
our guy.
Simon.
So here's the thing. You got to have a character to root for in this story.
You do.
I don't know if this is the guy yet. So far, we've met Charlotte. Charlotte's run away. Quick recap. Charlotte has run away from the courtroom in the middle of a trial. She runs back.
Also, that's not suspicious. The Attorney General is
It's not weird at all.
Are you a part of this scam? No.
All the
away!
reporters saw her leave, so you got to assume all the cameras caught her leaving
Absolutely.
the courtroom. She jumped into a cab, threw a fistful of bills at the cab driver,
Just threw it in his face, pegged it at him.
went through the front door, grabbed her already packed bags pretty much, switched into a hoodie that we needed a full description of.
Talked to Juanita and
Talked
left.
to Juanita, gave her an envelope, say, here, give this to my mother. Maybe, send a text to her mom or email.
And then went to Atlanta, her dream state.
That's where we leave off with Charlotte. Now, chapter 2, we start with our guy, Simon.
So this is 1 year later in NOLA, New Orleans,
So we're in New Orleans.
Louisiana.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Throw another shrimp on the barbie, sir. New Orleans.
was
I
a
do
weird
this.
blend
I
of-
do this like New Orleans accent that Abby doesn't like. I'm like,
Oh,
now
that southern
I go right
drawl.
now.
You
now
really got to drag.
we gotta go
out.
crabfishing down in the New Orleans. See, yeah.
That sounds like the Muppets go to f***ing like you
New
gotta-
Orleans.
I think I get that like long southern drawl.
The crocodiles and
It's like Andy said
No,
on The
'cause
Office.
I've been
it's
watching-
like your mouth is full of molasses.
That's like Georgia though. That's like Savannah.
Savannah, Georgia. Yeah,
no, New
you got
Orleans is a little
got
bit
a mouth
like,
full of candy.
New Orleans is a little bit like, gotta catch them gators there. That's
Well,
so I've
gotta
been
catch
watching.
them gators.
No, I'm not doing that thing. Whatever you just did with your hips. No, I've been watching Swamp People.
Down by the bayou.
I've been watching Swamp People, and that is filmed in New
Yeah, the
Orleans.
bayou,
and they
Louisiana.
catch. Yeah, they go. But that's how they talk. They talk like they have marbles in their mouth. They're like, "Oh, them the gator there."
They don't gator. I don't know. I've never tried it.
So we're
And
in
I've
New
also
Orleans.
never seen this. What's this show? Swamp
Swamp
People?
People. I think it's
That's
on-
not. That sounds racist.
It's on Hulu. That's what they do is they catch gators. So their whole thing is because
them gators.
the gator population is too high. So their job is to kill gators.
Yo, you know-
that's what they do.
You know what's really wild is like they issued a travel alert one time, and it wasn't currently when we were in Cancun, but
Yeah.
some of these countries literally ask the tourists to kill the iguanas.
Oh,
So
wow.
if an iguana appears in front of you, like it's your duty as a
What kind of
tourist.
tools are you supposed to bring to do this?
I don't know. You apparently just supposed to beat it to death or kill it
With
somehow.
what?
I don't know, but that was like the rule. So like, there would just be tourists beating iguanas to death because they
The
had to do.
employees are like, please stop.
It was like population control. So like, if you saw an iguana and did nothing, like you could get in trouble.
Oh, okay.
It was like weird. I gotta look it up, but it's like it's crazy.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
But no.
If I was supposed to be enjoying a
Yeah.
leisurely walk on the beach and I see an iguana, baby, hand me that shovel. Yeah.
Here we go. You walk into like you step into the courtyard.
imagine, like-
There's like 50 iguanas. Just
It's like a
Get a
World War,
Gatling
it's like
gun.
World War Z. People are just going ham on the iguanas aren't fighting back because they're just like, I'm an iguana.
But in Swamp People, that's their job. Is
Yeah,
literally
they
they
just-
show in the show. There's one person is supposed to like hold on to the fishing pole or whatever, and then the other person has like the rifle, and that's what happens in Swamp People. They're like, "Oh, now watch out there! Or shoot the gator there!" And then they shoot him. So that's where we are. We are in New Orleans. It is 1 year later, and we are from the POV of Simon.
we got a lot of good sound bites for the next RWP intro clip.
Yeah, I think so too. Just in that
Shoot
segment
that gator!
there.
There's a gator in the bayou.
So Simon is heading into a tattoo parlor with
Yep.
Nate.
This is
and
1 year
Derek.
later from the events that happened to Charlotte.
Yeah, so we're in a
1
whole
year
different
span of-
world right
yep,
now.
Whole different.
basically.
We're in New Orleans, NOLA.
Yes. So Derek, Nate, and our character here, Simon. So they're heading into this tattoo parlor called Voodoo Inc. And apparently Derek wants to get a tattoo of his wife's name on his ass, which coincidentally is named Mandy.
Mandy.
Which is funny because Mandy
So-
listens to the show.
To celebrate, Ben, you and I are both going to get Mandy's name tattooed on our butt.
You know, I will run it by my wife. I don't see why she would protest
Oh,
that.
there's probably no way. There's no flags raised there.
I don't see why that would be a problem.
Well, now I need to tell Logan, Mandy's current husband, that he needs to do this.
Yeah, he has to. He has to. So Derek's drunk. They're all going into this tattoo parlor with the goal of getting a tattoo on Derek's ass. He's claiming that she's gonna love it.
Obviously, they're all just hammered.
Yes.
Out of their minds. Saying, she's gonna love it, man. I know my woman. Derek said, his word slurring. I shrugged, hoping this place would refuse to tattoo his drunken ass.
Yes, and then Simon spots a woman.
A petite woman.
Yes.
Dressed in skinny jeans and a tight white tank top. Basically came out. It looks like she runs the counter, so she's not actually a tattoo artist. She's just like the person you.
But she's covered in tattoos.
But they started at her shoulders and continued down to her wrist. Some people might call that a sleeve.
Yeah. I think that's the more common term. Someone tells me
Some were
Megan
words,
March has
yeah.
no tattoos.
I think so. Some were brilliantly colored, swirling designs. She sized this up. Three guys dressed in jeans and a partially unbuttoned dress shirts, courtesy of the strippers. We barely escaped. I have a note here. I don't think strippers are molesting people just because you paid them to do something and then ran away. The stripper's goal is not to mug you.
It's to get money. As much money as
so
possible.
they went to go see strippers and they ran away. But the strippers, I don't think, were ripping their clothes off.
No, I don't think so either.
The strippers, if anything, would be ripping their own clothes off.
That's kind of the idea.
Right. It's not a hands-on activity.
And we probably look like douchebags, and one of us wanted his ass tattooed. Yeah, total fucking douchebag. So Simon's recognizing what we're recognizing as well, that clearly this group is a bunch of douchebags. And now here we have a little interesting note here. So she says, "What can I do for you, gentlemen?" And Derek mentions that, I want a tattoo on my ass of my bride's name.
Yep.
She is the tattoo
Honestly,
person.
This is a very realistic interaction for the tattoo places. Talking to my tattoo artist and stuff, he's like, they're so mean to drunk people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's just not like.
First of all, it's not. You're not even allowed to do it because your blood, when you're drunk,
it's so thin.
It's so thin, so you can't get a tattoo.
You bleed a ton. It doesn't heal right.
Yeah, exactly. So like you literally you cannot get tattooed while drunk. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. And so most tattoo places won't let you do it while you're drunk.
If they can tell, yeah, and like her, and then basically she's just like lighting this guy up. Yes. And then she looks at Simon and like her aqua eyes.
Here we go.
Speared me. Where have we heard aqua eyes?
Let's see. It was the man who had $125 billion missing.
Yeah, it looks like maybe a certain somebody.
Also,
ended up in NOLA.
What color is aqua?
Aqua's like a light blue.
Because he says, I've never seen eyes that color before. So he's never seen somebody with blue eyes.
They're blue eyes. They're probably just very strikingly blue.
Okay.
But they're still, if you were to classify it on your driver's license,
sure.
If your eyes said aqua, I wouldn't know what I would be like, water?
I know. So, her features were delicate, with high cheekbones and a slightly turned up nose. So she's got like one of those like
Whoville.
snouts, I guess.
Whoville.
Her dark and vibrant hair seemed at odds with her creamy, pale skin. The combination of the hair,
it's not strawberry blonde right now.
eyes, and tattoos was striking. More intoxicating than
the dozen or so drinks. I took a note here too.
Yeah.
So he sees a girl while he's hammered.
12
and
drinks.
Is like, oh man, she's gorgeous. I was like, all right, man. Well, I think that chair looks pretty good to you too at this point.
A dozen, more than the dozen or so drinks I'd already consumed. She was the polar opposite of the perfectly coiffed and manicured woman.
I think that's coiffed.
Coiffed.
Coiffed is a Q.
Give me some coffee.
I want some coffee.
Coffee, extra cream.
Yeah.
Oh, now, get me some coffee now, alligator. And manicured woman, my parents pushed at me. I couldn't think of a word that didn't sound stupid, even in my head. So,
and then I wrote basically what that reminded me was the song, trying to find the words to describe this woman without being disrespectful. So
that's exactly what the situation was.
He's just like, he wants to say some like really nasty things, but he doesn't want to be disrespectful.
Exactly, even if it's in his head. So the woman basically tells Derek to go F himself. They can't tattoo him since he's drunk. The guys all get ready to leave, and
she shuts him down.
And so the guys are about ready to leave, but Simon stays, and he asks her for her name, right? And she doesn't really respond, and he does something that is very frowned upon. He reached across the counter and grabbed her wrist.
Like what?
Just so this is
Like,
this interaction.
what?
What's your name? What's your name?
Like what is? That's not okay at any point in time.
Whether it's
Think about how aggressive that looks. Tell me your
so this guy's drunk.
Yeah.
It's I assume late at night. They're wandering into a tattoo parlor. They've just been told to leave, and he grabs her wrist. Not a great thing to do.
It's not a good look, Simon. It's not a good look.
And then another tattoo artist comes wandering out,
I
and
love-
here we meet one of my personal favorite characters in this book.
Constantine.
His name is Constantine.
Constantine,
Go ahead and give the description of Constantine there.
a tall blonde man dressed in a faded Jimi Hendrix t-shirt, ripped jeans, tattooed from neck to wrists.
wrists.
Maybe more, but he's wearing jeans.
So the other one was shoulder to wrists. Now this is neck to wrists.
wrists.
Okay.
He stopped next to Lee, wrapped an arm around her, and then basically he was just like, "This is my
He
girl."
pulls her into him. So like, he's just like pulls
Let
her
me
in.
get you real quick. And then, so apparently, this guy, Simon knows him. He got expelled from the prep school that Simon was in for hotboxing the athletic director's office.
Yes.
He ended up in military school after that, and his name is Constantine. It looks like Lee.
Leahy or Leahy or
Leahy.
or Lee.
Leahy might be more accurate.
Yeah.
Constantine Leahy. And so he was just like, it's
Clearly doing well for himself. Voodoo Inc. He gets to grab Lee and pull her towards him. So basically, they kind of give a quick look to each other. Simon takes a look, or it's not Simon. Constantine sees that there's a military tattoo
Yep.
on Simon.
on his forearm.
And he lets him know that, hey, by the way, we do touch-up work for
Which-
vets for
that's
free.
awesome.
Which is,
I think that's really cool.
I think a lot of tattoo parlors do that. It's a great thing, obviously. And so it's one of those weird things where, he's kind of offering something kind of nice.
Also, he's making like wild assumptions. They look like a perfect couple, all ink and you attitudes. I was like, dude, you walked into a bar. You walked into a voodoo tattoo shop,
Probably late at
drunk.
night, yes.
Grabbed this woman
on her wrist.
on her wrist, and the manager.
You're surprised
says,
the manager wasn't like, hey, is there a problem here?
And he's like, oh yeah, they're all the same. These
Man,
tattoo
these freaking
punks.
tattoo artists, they're perfect for each other.
And then he goes, she wasn't for me, but those eyes, those
eyes.
eyes.
Those eyes really kind of stuck with him. So that's the chapter 2. Now we move to chapter 3, the point of view of Charlie, where if you can kind of draw the conclusion.
This whole chapter
Yes, there's a
was
lot.
the most buck wild thing
Yes.
I've ever read.
So here's the thing. Charlie, if you'd have to be a complete moron to not understand that Charlie is Charlotte.
Yes.
And that's the character.
And her last name,
I don't know why they don't just put Charlotte here for the chapter, Megan March. Like, we all understand. You said Aqua Eyes 50 f***ing times. We know that that's Charlotte.
and
from
like you
chapter
can mention one time, like she's living her life as it's Charlie Stone. Her other name was
which is like a porn star
Charlotte
name.
Augustone.
Yeah.
She just fucking like almost like
Not even a
rearranged the
leak.
letters.
Not even leak. Why would you even stay with the same Char?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's like, you should just.
Be
I'm now Leah.
Danica.
something.
I'm Danica now.
I'm Danica.
Danica
Jones.
Fart filter.
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly.
And like it's so she sticks with this. So basically, if you hear Charlie from now on, it's
Yeah.
Charlotte.
Yes.
I don't know if that changes in the next chapters, but she keeps referring to her as Charlie
Con
now.
is Constantine Leahy.
Yep.
So chapter 3 is from Charlie's point of view now.
So we switch back. So we now know it's her.
So she scolds Khan for being a caveman.
Yeah.
And she describes him, Salty Dalton, as her boss, her friend, and sometimes buddy.
Wildly inappropriate.
On multiple levels.
And then basically he's like, you can't tell me he wasn't trying to pick you up and take you home. Maybe I wanted him to. Our arrangement was completely open. The only rule is if you were with someone else, you had to get tested before we got together again. My note, what kind of workplace is this? That's so f***ing absurd.
Also, I mean, and I'm married, obviously. I'm not someone who is ever proliferous in the love world, but the idea of having to go get, I assume, like an STD test
Get tested every
time that you go and hook up with somebody seems like, I assume STD tests, are those free? I
don't-
would know.
I
I've
don't
never
know,
gotten
but
one, but
I guess the point is to show that if they did hook up again, he's completely clean. So that means like
Sure.
maybe he's like going out with some sketchy people.
Because she mentions how that's their rule, but really it was Khan's rule because he's the one that had regularly went home with other women. And she says, I feel no jealousy towards him. I used Khan to feel close to someone occasionally, and it didn't hurt that he was a stellar lay.
The only guy who touched me in more than a casual way since I'd left New York. So only a year ago.
Only a year ago. And then here's kind of she's talking about how she'd gone days without thinking about her old life. It was a game I was playing. How long could I go without remembering? I was getting better at it. Sex, booze, and tattoos helped.
Although I was a little light on the sex portion of the equation lately.
Yeah, she's got to let us know she's a little sex starved. But here's the thing, and I wrote a note here when I got to this point was, so the understanding is, did she flee criminal charges?
See, that's what I've been trying to get at, and it mentions it again in like the next chapter or something. But like, if you ran out of a courtroom as a key witness, and you just disappeared,
the assumption
first of
is
all,
the government still needs to talk to you. They still have questions.
also, I'm pretty sure that they're tracking her, but she wasn't formally charged with anything, so she just decided to just run away, I guess. So, like, I don't know if she's on the FBI watch list.
Yeah, somebody looking for her.
I can guarantee you, if someone is looking for her from the FBI, they would have seen her leave the courtroom, probably would have got on the cameras of her penthouse hotel, tracked her to the airport, watched her board a plane to fly
good at this thing.
Atlanta. Yeah. If you're staying inside the United States, it's not that easy if you're a high-profile person who bought plane tickets with a credit card beforehand.
Exactly. She assumingly bought that ticket well in advance
before she cashed in the saving bonds
in her own name.
So she used her account to buy it. All I'm saying is, like, if they wanted to find you, they probably would have within like a month.
But here's the wrinkle: she's not in Atlanta. They've been looking in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, that's right. She went to NOLA somehow.
New Orleans.
I think she took a Greyhound bus to NOLA.
So Khan is giving her shit, saying that this guy's too straight edged for her. He says she shouldn't even be thinking about leaving here with some guy she just met, because she's kind of joking like, oh, maybe I wish I should have walked out with him. And he's like, don't joke about that. I got to go get another STD test because I've been banging a lot of chicks. He doesn't say that, but I'm just guessing. So
please tell me you have the Lee part highlighted.
Which part? Go ahead and read it.
So basically, she's like, I gotta head out. I got an early shift. She's working a couple jobs, and then. He was like, I wish you'd just let me, like, maybe he wanted to be lovers at one point. I don't know. But apparently she's got a dog.
Yes.
And he's like, get out of here, Lee. Khan was the only person who called me Lee. He claimed I was too sexy to call by a guy's name. Lee, in my mind, is also a guy's name.
Yeah, it is.
So I didn't get that for a while because I didn't understand her name was Charlie. And I was like, okay, so Charlie... That's more of a ambiguous name than Lee, because I know two Lees who are guys.
Yeah,
it's weird. So he's like, Charlie's not sexy. I'm gonna call you Lee.
Yeah,
and I don't like that. That makes me feel uncomfortable.
And she says, like, whatever to that. Thankfully, given what he assumed to be my situation, he paid me under the table and had never asked to see my ID.
So her ID still says Charlotte Agustin, whatever. And he's this person doesn't exist. She's getting paid under the table. She's having rampant sex with her boss.
Aren't there like tax audits or things like that?
She's so
because where is this money going? That the company is bringing this money and then paying an employee under the table. How are they able to do that?
I don't know, but she's just like her dad.
Because apparently Khan has assumed that she's running from an abusive boyfriend. Some days I wish that was the truth. She says about that. It's like, okay, that's probably not a great thing to say. So we meet her dog here.
It basically goes into this huge
backstory of the dog.
Diversion of how she ran into this dog.
30 inches tall. His name's Huck. Apparently the dog had been floating down the Mississippi on a pile of plywood and old tires. Why? Why does that have to be the backstory? Like, what's the point of that?
If they were going to throw a dog into the river... I would assume is maybe kill it.
It's not going on an adventure.
They're not like what's that movie with the animated one with the pharaoh?
With the pharaoh?
Yeah, when he puts the plague. Do you remember? It's like an animated kids like movie. Oh my god,
I just know like The Great Adventure or whatever that other book was called.
Anyway, it's like they put a baby in a bassinet and they roll it down the river and it shows up.
Is that like Romulus and Remus?
I don't know, but like no one's doing that. It's weird. Apparently,
but it's like you could just say she adopted the dog at Humane Society of New Orleans. Like that's all the background really had to be.
He's a cross between an English Mastiff and a Great Dane. That's a huge f***ing dog.
30 inches tall, she said. So that's like 30 inches. So 24 inches is 2 feet. So it's like 2.5 feet tall. I don't know how much.
It's probably
that is.
like up here.
It's pretty
like
big
waist
dog.
high.
Pretty big dog.
About as big as the wolf in the last book.
And so they give a very long description of the dog, and then Khan smacks her ass. And Huck growls.
Khan just straight up goes like, "Good game today.
You should probably leave." Bam.
This is the most unhealthy working environment.
Get out of here, then, girl. I'll see you tomorrow. And he leans down and brushes a kiss across her temple. So the temple is up by the head, I guess. She grabs her bag, unchains her
bike. The Schwinn is a bike for anyone who doesn't know.
And then heads to her favorite hot dog vendor named Jimmy, who is set up on the corner of Bourbon and St. Louis. So we are in downtown.
Jimmy got them hot dogs.
Bourbon Street. She apparently gets her usual, which is one with everything and one that's plain. One is plain for the dog. The one with everything is for Charlie. And she tells Jimmy, have a good night. Jimmy clearly is very horny. Says, "It's a date, Miss Charlie, to be sure. It's a date."
Yeah, he's just like, "I keep giving you free hot dogs, Miss Charlie."
We are married, Miss Charlie. She arrives to her secret garden oasis, she calls it, but is really owned by some woman named Harriet, who we find out.
The description of Huck, basically, I love this. He looked mean as
Yes.
Wow, that really hammered it home.
Yeah.
Illustrious writing.
So she gets into the secret garden and goes up to her apartment.
Like a huge backstory for how she got this apartment. Like, I don't know if this ever plays into it. There's exposition, but it's in the wrong places.
It's in way too much exposition at times that it is completely unnecessary.
I spent 3 minutes reading about how this dog named Huck, which is all I need to f***ing know, is she has a dog named Huck.
Just went on this adventure down the Mississippi.
What could have been 4 sentences was an entire page, and then how she ran into this.
So Harriet...
It was the god... She got this... It was the...
Grandmother.
Harriet is the godmother...
Is it godmother or grandmother? No, she said she's her fairy godmother. But she's the grandmother.
She's the grandmother of an insane best friend from college.
Yes. Lena Zwires, she tells us, is apparently the name.
She's more of a socialist,
and
really.
Harriet,
I bet you she never f***ing shows up again in this story.
Oh, no doubt. And so she... this Harriet woman, well, first she gives us the background of Lena, who after college went to the Peace Corps and now is living in Madagascar.
I don't care about Lena. She adds nothing to the story. It's like Bud and Mavis.
But Harriet apparently is a shrewd businesswoman who owns several shops in the quarter. So we're talking about this Harriet lady.
Prime real estate in NOLA.
And so this woman who owns a bunch of shops in the French Quarter has a 500 square foot apartment, which is tiny, as we all know. That is 500 square feet is very tiny for
itty bitty
for Charlie to stay in. And you would think this woman, who I'm sure her place is very nice and big, you'd think that there would be a bigger place where Charlotte could stay. But apparently it's a 500 square foot apartment. Charlotte is she pays a fair rent. And she owns all this stuff, and she basically was able to get her a job at apparently another place, the Dirty Dog, which is a vintage clothing and novelty shop. Which I will point out, as I have read ahead, I don't think the Dirty Dog is ever brought up again. Just make a note of that.
Apparently she works at a couple different places, and she volunteers at some, like...
she does some charity work, like she's always wanted to do.
In the basement, she talks about how, like, the tattoos are... the camouflage to hide the girl I once was. And it was like, I permanently marked myself to ensure I could never again fit in the life I previously led. Hey, Megan March, I have a sleeve and 2 other tattoos, and I work for the government.
Exactly.
You can have jobs with tattoos. Also, What do you mean you fit into the life? You can be rich as hell and be covered in tattoos.
Absolutely. And here's some insight into her thinking, I guess. She says, rather than face constant questioning by the FBI,
I have a
and
note
the
on-
chance
yeah.
that the Department of Justice would eventually decide that despite the truth I'd spoken on the stand, I was somehow culpable for my father's crimes. I could freely admit it had been cowardly to run, but at least by running, I gave myself a shot at having some
No, you
sort
didn't.
of future. So
Because
you're living under...
You ran out during the most suspicious thing you could ever do. Did you commit these crimes? Runs out of the courtroom.
Runs out of the courtroom, is under a different name, changes her hair color, gets tattooed.
Just dyes it black. She still looks the same.
She's getting paid under the table, living in a 500 square foot apartment. How is this a bright future for her? Also, again, I don't think the justice system is going to suddenly randomly place this blame on you without
not.
proper evidence.
That's what I'm saying. Is there not? Because it's the owner of the company is going down.
So
It's insane. Yeah, I 100% agree, because like you're running away from this thing that isn't even really a thing when you could, stick around for a while, then legally move to NOLA,
Anywhere.
get paid over the table, and not have to have
Yes.
sex with your boss.
yes, named Constantine.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a lot of other things, and the press isn't going to go to NOLA and hound you
Yes.
about a trial that happened a year ago.
They're not going to care.
They don't even care who you are.
No.
She's not in the press because this guy isn't a celebrity. He just owns a business.
Exactly. So basically, the chapter ends just with her saying, although
I love ripping off the blinders I wore for 22 years. Well, you're 22 years old, so I don't think you were really understanding the situation
No.
until maybe you were in your teens.
Probably not. So that thus ends chapter 3. We've got 2 more to go. So again, quick recap through the first 3 chapters. We met Charlotte. We obviously heard about her issues with her father, with him being on trial. She leaves to Atlanta.
So far, we just know this guy named Simon, who's a military vet.
Military vet.
Took a bachelor party out to NOLA and
Yes.
met her. And
At a tattoo parlor called
Yep.
Voodoo Inc., where she's banging her boss very unprofessionally. She's living a life where she is getting paid under the table and really can't be using her whole name. So how does she have? Here's kind of the other logistics of this is. How can she have health insurance, or how can she go do certain things? You kind of need identification.
Because guess what?
For
She
things.
still has her ID.
Yes.
She didn't trash her old life. She probably still has her credit cards.
100%.
She probably is still using her other name. So, like, the FBI aren't worried because they're like, oh, she's in New Orleans. She just purchased this. Or
'Cause she's
her
getting
ID
paid-
was scanned here.
She's getting paid under the table. Does she have a
for
bank
no
account?
reason. She's getting paid on the table for no reason.
Does she have a bank account? Is
Hey,
she
what
able
about
to
the
put
dirty
the money
dog?
somewhere?
Is the dirty dog paying her under the table?
true.
Or does she have a W-2?
She mentions this other business she's working for, but no mention of like, hey, they're also paying her under the table.
I guarantee you that the FBI just is like, well, that's weird that she ran away. We're not after her, so, but she probably has a W-2 in her name.
I would assume so.
Because that landlord lady, if she gets audited,
Yeah. Why would that
She's
lady chance on her? I don't know. So chapter 4, we're back to Simon's POV here.
he heads back to Voodoo
He's
Inc.
back. He's
Can't get enough.
interested. He's
he wants
intrigued.
he wants to grab Lee's other wrist.
And apparently, the reason why he's going back is because there was no way that girl was as stunning as I'd remembered. I mean,
you have the same.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I had on beer goggles,
Check.
tequila goggles,
Check.
hurricane goggles,
Check.
and every other kind of goggles out there.
So what he's saying is he was hammered out of his mind.
Wasted. And he's basically thinking that there's no way that the girl was as attractive as I thought she was because I was drunk as hell. So he shows up, and the place is pretty deserted and creepy looking, apparently. And he's looking around, and a different woman's there. It's a woman with chin-length blonde and pink hair. One would say strawberry blonde.
Heavy on the strawberry.
Wearing a 50s style pink and orange polka dot dress, was sitting at the counter, and he says this was not Lee. And
No.
yes, I remembered her name even after the last 2 bars we hit.
So he basically is just like, hey, you said you do free touch-ups for vets.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get this touched up. And him and Delilah are talking a little bit, and then like out of nowhere, she's like, I'm the only one here right now. We may get interrupted with walk-ins, but you picked a good time. So like they're just secluded,
Yeah.
like any other tattoo parlor where you work in your own section.
Yes.
And she's like, don't think that means I won't you up if you try to make a move on me. Like, Does she have to just sit down and be like, by the way, we're alone, and if
This
you
is
try to
just a-
assault
this
me,
is
I
just a
swear to
customer."
God. This is, if someone said it to me, I'd be like, guess what? I don't think I want to be here anymore.
Like, for example,
I'm going to go to the shop down the street.
For example, I get my hair cut at this place.
Oh, yes, a haircut would be the perfect
Because here's the thing. I get my hair cut at this place. I get it done at 8 a.m. The first thing they open on Saturday mornings. That's when I go.
Yep.
I'm the only one in there. It's always just me and the lady. And we have a great conversation. That's as if I sat down at the barbershop at 8 a.m. with an empty barbershop and she was like, hey, by the way, don't think that if you try anything, I'm going to f*** you up. And it was just like, what? I'm just here. I'm paying you money for this service, even though technically I guess she's doing this for free for him. But
like,
still.
Like, does this guy look that shifty? Like, he's just going to, like, well, he did grab Lee's wrist.
Yeah, but Delilah probably doesn't know about that.
No, she probably doesn't. And then she goes, you don't have the kind of equipment I like.
So
I guess that's it.
Lesbian.
Yeah, I guess you could have said it maybe in a better way.
I guess.
I don't know.
I guess she's trying to establish that Delilah is a spitfire.
Right there. Yep. Boom.
One of those crazy lessies.
Crazy lesbo Delilah.
So he just responds, duly noted, ma'am. Just
yeah,
kinda
apparently
gives her-
she's like f***ing serious about this too. Like, she's like, I will murder you if you touch me. And he just is like, I held back a smile at her serious expression.
Yeah. So apparently she was not joking.
No, she was not.
So he likes the tattoo. He's shooting the shit with Delilah.
I love the liberal use of f***ing in this.
Oh, yeah.
I was pretty f***ing happy with the touched-up tattoo. Like, okay, cool. They did a very good job. She's probably got really good line work.
They talk a lot about it, and they talk a lot. He's enjoying the tattoo. He's pulling his shirt off. Apparently,
yeah, he wants a new one, basically of just like this memorial tattoo with call signs, like my call sign Roadhouse.
There you go.
So Roadhouse on his back. That's like all the brothers he'd lost. So we know he went to the Naval Academy.
Yes.
The way they described that initial tattoo almost sounded like a Navy SEAL tattoo, but I don't think that's what he did.
I don't think so.
And he's lost a lot of buddies in the war. I don't know how old he is.
I don't know how old he is either, and also I don't know his extent of military service.
Like, was it a year, 2 years? Because if Charlotte's 22,
yeah,
you go to the Naval Academy. Depending on when you enter, normally you go there out of high school. You don't just go there for high school.
Yeah, so you're like 18.
There might be another program, but you've got to be graduating the Naval Academy at like, I don't know, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
So like, and then you don't normally just go right into.
For him to already be in,
Naval
brothers.
So the Naval Academy is just to like, it gives you an education. It's mostly for officers, get you prepared for the Navy.
Yeah.
But then you would actually go enlist in the Navy.
Yes.
And then you get job assignments. You have to do training. So like, I don't know what he does.
But for him to already have lost brothers, though, that's the thing, and him to already be like, to be old enough to have actually been in combat and lost people,
coming out of an actual Naval Academy, which takes more time, because he could have signed up for the Navy
and then be where he is now, where he is. We'll find out some more.
Ballpark. I'll say he's got to be 28 to 32. That would make sense.
You would think, yeah.
So I think he's around that. He's got to be around that age range.
So, he's in the process of taking his shirt off, and then he hears her voice. Lee arrives into the store, and she sees Simon, and they introduce themselves to each other.
Oh yeah, because she ripped her jeans because Huck. I just started randomly chasing this like horse-drawn carriage
Apparently.
and ripped her off her bike. I guess he's not that well trained. I need the freaking first aid kit. You know what? You've said it a billion times before. Just say f***ing. I need the f***ing first aid kit. It fits the story.
She needs the first aid kit. And basically, she sees that it's Simon.
And here's another, like, we get it. She's lesbian. This is part of the problem, right? Megan March is part of the problem, okay?
Yeah.
If you're lesbian, that's cool. You don't need to keep hinting or saying that the character is lesbian. Let them live their life. Let them make their own things. She, like, adds this extra thing where Delilah's voice lowered, and if I were into guys, let me tell you.
But I'm not. I'm lesbian.
But I'm definitely not.
I'd cut a bitch.
I literally threatened to cut off his nuts.
So Simon gets to meet Huck. Huck appears in the doorway, a massive f***ing dog. His black and brown swirled fur was short, thick, and dense.
Lee's voice was a smoky alto and sexy as hell. I don't know. Alto, isn't that high pitched?
No, alto's lower, so she's got like a
smoky.
Huck, why don't you come back in here? Down Gales there.
Wazowski.
And she sees that it's Simon, and she says, "Oh, it's you." And he goes, "And it's you, Lee, right?"
Good to know I wasn't just a faceless customer. Wasn't he there like last night?
Yeah, it was. This was the
It's
previous
been
night.
like one day.
He basically he holds out his hand to shake her hand. He sees like the scrapes on her palm.
What if he just grabbed her wrist and shook it
Yeah,
instead?
that's
Maybe
pretty much
he's
what
just a
happens.
wrist guy.
He lets her know, hey, you should probably take care of that. That giant scrape that we just heard you bitching about a second ago, and why you're in the shop to get your first aid kit. She says, yeah, I know. It's going to hurt like hell when I pour that stinging stuff on it. I'm trying to psych myself up first. Okay,
all
be an
right.
adult.
I guess, yeah.
So they're talking about the dog a bit, and she mentions how if he thought you were a threat, he would rip you to pieces. It's like, all right, and she says, for all I know, you could be some creepy stalker. She says, it's like, you're right, he could be, considering he is back in this shop after you escorted him out last night after he grabbed your wrist.
Also, like if he thought you were a threat, probably. If he knew you, maybe not. But I don't know you, so I'm not introducing you to my dog. For all I know, what a weird train of thought to say out loud to somebody, to be like, well, he might not hurt you, or he would. Depends if he know you. I don't know you. I don't want to introduce you to my dog.
And then here comes the objectification. She eyes him up and down, and it occurred to me that I was shirtless. And
I guess he's got another tattoo over
Yes.
his left pectoral muscle.
So his left pec, the rest of his chest, she checks out the abs
If I
a bit.
knew anything about women, which was debatable for any man, I would have said she looked interested.
She looked interested. She was just like standing there and just going, like giving him that full eyes. She was giving him the full look over. And I released her hand and flipped over my forearm. He shows, hey, this is why I'm here. I'm here for the touch-up. Remember, I'm not being creepy.
And I'm getting another tat.
I know I'm shirtless right now, but this is why. This is why I'm here. And Charlotte basically just says, yep, she does good work. I'm sure you'll be pleased. And he finishes the chapter with, well, I had my answer. She was every bit as gorgeous as I remembered, even though I was wasted.
Yeah.
And I don't remember much, but she was gorgeous.
Cool.
Final chapter here,
Yep.
people.
Rolling into chapter 5, and you've guessed it, we've now switched back to the point of view from Charlie. a.k.a. Charlotte,
the criminal.
a.k.a. Lee.
A.k.a. Bernie Madoff Jr. So, chapter 5. So this is from Charlie, and this gets a little interesting. So Charlie is kind of recounting. So Charlie is thinking about Simon, thinking about this injury. She thinks of Juanita.
Juanita wasn't there to blow on the injury and lessen the sting like she did when she was a kid.
And then we get into this whole Huck's kind of presence and background with her, and she basically recalls a time where she was Huck saved her basically from getting raped, like getting sexually assaulted. She tells this big long story about Huck and how she had been closing one night and she ducked into the restroom for a pit stop and gone across some park, and this guy comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and
again, like super huge backstory.
Giant story here, which again, we understand Tuck is big and scary. Like I'm not trying to like mitigate a sexual, almost sexual assault, but at the same time, this doesn't actually add anything to the story. I'll just point that out.
It doesn't, and then she talks about how she keeps up with Juanita.
Yes,
and I was like,
but secretly
through the library, because they can't track her search history. Guess what? The library can, but also is Juanita have a big presence on social media? Is Juanita like the hero of the case?
Juanita posts a lot of memes.
Did Juanita?
A lot of memes.
I bet you Juanita broke the case open. Juanita fed the facts to the attorney, and I was like, does she have a Twitter or Facebook? Did she just Google Juanita?
So with Juanita, we talk about the social media aspect.
I just love the hashtag Juanita.
Hashtag Juanita.
Juanita's
knows.
trending on Twitter.
Juanita knows all. That's the hashtag there.
What a weird thing to do. You go to a library and you try to look up just a Juanita who used to work for your family.
Yes.
Who is a grandmother. And I know my grandparents before they passed, and their interaction on they were not on Facebook, and they certainly weren't on Twitter.
No.
And I don't know how you get to a public library, and does she log into her own account?
I don't know.
Does she make a
she
fake
has to
one?
have a library card
That's what I'm saying.
to get into the library.
She had to show her ID to get one. They don't just issue it to people willy-nilly.
So she thinks also about her mother.
Yep.
She's been keeping tabs on her. Not that there were many tabs to keep. She basically gone into hiding. So basically, how is she keeping tabs on her mom then? Like, if her mom's not posting on social media, how is she finding out this
That's
information?
what I'm wondering. Like, I'll give it a few years, let the dust settle, and then she's going to go contact Juanita again, too. Like, she's really about this.
And according to every article I'd read, my father still hadn't given up a single sliver of information of where the monies went.
Yep.
So again, he snitches get stitches. His sentence had equated to multiple lifetimes
in federal prison. Jesus. And so that means that he was sentenced. Guess what? They're not looking for you, Charlotte.
But she claims that there's some that are speculating on her whereabouts. It seemed that the leading hypothesis...
I bet you it was the Huffington Post.
Yeah, that was that I was living off my father's ill-gotten gains in Switzerland.
You know what they wouldn't be doing? Saying that if you would just wait until the trial was done and then left.
Yes. So basically, she's kind of thinking about all this stuff.
Yeah, she tells herself they wouldn't be speculating if they knew her actual whereabouts. Time to go back to Voodoo, get another tattoo, another mask to hide behind. And reference to call back to the title.
Book. Yeah. So she thinks about all this stuff, and then now it's time to actually like put the antiseptic on. So she shimmies out of her jeans, and basically it's hurting.
So she took off her jeans.
She took off her pants.
That's how I was wondering how the door cracked open. Was someone checking out my thong-clad ass at this very moment? Surprisingly, the thought didn't bother me. Weird. The man was built. I wouldn't kick him out of my bed for eating crackers.
Yeah.
I've heard that. That's been around a very long time.
Instead, it's Khan who walks in and cups her ass cheeks.
A rough hand cupped her right ass cheek.
Yeah.
Again, this workplace is f***ing nuts.
Yes, and Khan basically tells her, he's like, "Oh man, it's been too long.
Need to get you home, get you in my." And he's like, "What happened? Did someone put their hands on you like last time?"
So he sees a couple scrapes on her, and he's assuming sexual assault.
Yeah.
And basically, she tells him no, it's just about falling off of a bike.
And Yvonne Santos is her boss at the Dirty Dog.
So that's
a weird reference. So that's the Dirty Dog owner who apparently knows that she was sexually assaulted too.
But still, they didn't notice. They still haven't mentioned how she's getting paid at the Dirty Dog.
They have not.
And basically, those are the people that know. So Khan, Delilah, Yvonne, and Yvonne were the only ones who knew about my near. Is Yvonne the boss
at Dirty Dog?
Okay.
So
she told Delilah and Yvonne.
So she told Khan, she told Delilah, and she told her boss at the Dirty Dog about the sexual
But she
assault.
says, and beyond those four, I didn't really have anyone else to tell. So who's the fourth? Because you're right, it's written as Khan, Delilah, and Yvonne Santos, my boss at the Dirty Dog, were the only ones who knew about my near miss. Harriet would worry too much, so Harriet doesn't know about it. And beyond those four, I didn't really have anyone else to tell.
Is it Huck?
That's the thing. It's like,
or did she tell
or was
Simon?
It the guy that did the sexual assault? He knows.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good thing, because I was wondering. I was like, it just didn't add anything. So like, the fewer people I let in, the fewer people I had to lie to.
Yeah. So she lets him know.
It's been 1 year.
Huck decided he wanted to chase a carriage. I fell off my bike.
And he's just
Khan's like, oh, that
damn
stupid dog.
Yeah.
He tells her immediately, hey, maybe you should go home.
Also, and he's just like, he wants to pay her more so she doesn't have to work so much. And she's like, I would feel like a whore because if you paid me more than you did before they slept together, you're getting paid for service. It's a fair argument, but it's also weird because this shouldn't be an issue.
I like how the argument ends because he's like, yeah, like I said, stubborn, and then smacks her ass again.
If I imagine this, you go to Mascot Books on Monday,
yes,
and your boss is roaming around, cupping your ass, smacking your ass, and being like, yo, you want to go home tonight?
Well,
like,
especially with the way my ass looks in a thong.
Is it only those three people that work in the shop? Because I thought it was a pretty big shop.
No, it's just those three.
So
Khan, Delilah, and Lee, I guess.
If there were other tattoo artists who saw this, I mean, like, it's also a stereotype to assume, like, tattoo artists and stuff are, like, okay
it's like the
wild,
with this. Wild West.
Or, like, just like, oh, yeah, that's dirty. That's a dirty girl. That's a dirty together. Dirty pleasures.
So he smacks her ass. He said, but I like that thong. What do you say? Come home with me tonight if you're up to it.
Also, if he opened the door, does that mean it's just still open? Did he just walk in and not close it?
She basically lets him know, hey, let me think about it. Ask me later. And then she starts...
He gave a chin jerk.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'll catch you later.
And then basically An hour later, Simon. Well, so she also mentions after the chin jerk, Khan may look like a tatted up bad boy, but from what I can tell, he was a fairly astute businessman.
Yeah,
I can't tell that.
Nope. No, wait. No, because he's paying people under the table. He's having sex
with his employees.
That's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
I wouldn't say great businessman.
No, I would say pretty bad businessman.
So Simon, it's time to pay for his new tattoo.
He had cut muscles and a banging six pack.
Yeah, she's been glancing over at him for a while because he's been shirtless. She's been looking over. Sometimes she looks back.
Gets really lustful about it.
Yeah, she talks about
and
how.
Then,
Go ahead.
If he'd strip me naked, trace the lines of ink with his fingers and then his tongue. So she wants him to lick.
Yeah,
her wrist.
Here's the full paragraph. I've got it written down. So with Simon, it was burning curiosity and flaring lust. I wanted to know how his hands would feel against my skin. If he'd strip me naked and trace the lines of ink with his fingers and then his tongue. If he'd liked the little surprises I had tucked beneath my clothes.
Like what? Milk Duds? Happy Meal toys? What are the surprises underneath your clothes?
I have no idea.
If that's how she's calling, if that's what she calls her breasts,
I don't think so.
That's weird.
Because then she says Khan had never even seen them, and I'd sworn Delilah. It's nipple piercings.
Okay.
And I'd sworn Delilah to secrecy.
Also, that mean did they have sex with their clothes on?
I don't know, or maybe she didn't have them in.
Or maybe it's like the last one, complete darkness. Shut off everything.
When Simon stopped in front of the counter, I was shifting on my cushioned stool, trying to relieve the ache in my wandering thoughts had produced. So she is basically masturbating herself with the stool.
On the stool. Oh my God.
Which is just unbelievable.
This is the worst place ever.
So he immediately asks her to have dinner with him tonight.
Also, yeah, and then she's about to answer. Khan comes back in to do his whole like macho man routine.
Yes.
And calls him councilman. I didn't realize you came back. This guy is a councilman.
Yes.
For New Orleans? I don't know. Councilman is for the city council, right?
Yes.
It's just for the city. So the city of NOLA, I guess he's a councilman.
So they're gonna explain it here in a sec. So she glances at Khan after he says no charge for that. Feel free to be on your way. He's saying let's Khan know. Hey, I did get a new tattoo. Let me just settle up on that. And there's clearly some weird tension there. Even Charlotte is wondering what councilman? What the hell are you talking about? And then Khan says, seems strange that someone rumored to be kicking off a campaign for Daddy's old congressional seat would be getting more ink.
And then he just he pulls her in again, hey, this is mine. And she while he's at the front desk,
I made a note of this as well.
They turn around and have a whispered conversation where he's quit being a dick.
Yeah,
drop
Simon is standing right there.
Junkyard pissing on your territory act. This shit doesn't fly with us, you know it, Lee. Adjust what? He's not the kind of guy you should getting mixed up with. Meanwhile, Simon is standing here. If he has any fucking ears, they're probably 4 feet away. He's probably hearing this entire exchange.
And then we get a last name here. Simon Duchesne?
Duchesne's, maybe.
Duquesne's, but there's an N-E.
Yeah, it's just Duquesne's. It's
Duquesne's?
Silent, yeah.
You think it's Duquesne's?
I think it's Duquesne's.
All right, well, we'll have to find out. We'll have to ask Megan March.
Son of a congressman. Rumored, so he's a councilman.
So apparently this name triggers her knowledge. So suddenly she knows who this person is because she spins back and faced Simon Duchesne, and faced councilman, son of a congressman, rumored congressional candidate, the kind of man my mother would have salivated over having me date when I was Charlotte Augustin. You still are. The kind of man who was off limits and straight up dangerous to the continued anonymity of Charlie Stone.
Charlotte Augustin, Charlie Stone. Yeah, you don't even have to be in the FBI Academy to be well, they look similar. She took on that name, still has her same ID. It's probably her.
The potential consequences of being seen with him and recognized played through my mind at hyperspeed. I'd have to leave New Orleans and this makeshift family I'd fallen in love with. It just wasn't worth the risk.
She just went next level, they would be married.
The guy asked you for dinner.
And she's just well, if we get married.
And so she turns him down. He's why? What, because of Khan? He's you're with him? And she says, well, no, we're not together. And he's well,
also, Khan's got to be standing right there.
Also, I like how he's very like defensive about this because he's like, well, why? Like, what? Why? He's like, I'm not going to pretend like I didn't see you every time you stopped and stared at me over the last hour.
And truly busted.
She says she refers to him as a conceited ass. You're pretty to look at. That's all. Doesn't mean I want to have dinner with you. And he goes, fine. I won't waste my breath then. He handed over $400 bills. Tells Delilah to keep the change. So, I mean, you and I both have gotten tattoos. They're usually in the hundreds of dollars. This made it seem like the way this was described as if he was way overpaying. Because, like she says, $400 bills. Tell Delilah to keep the change.
Honestly,
I don't know what he got.
I think an average shop minimum is between like $80 and $100.
Sure.
And if you were getting a giant back piece started,
It was probably like $500 worth of work or something like that.
it's got to be a lot. And so keeping the change is probably not giving her that much.
Keep the change. And they're like, oh, wait, but you didn't
You
tip.
owe us. You need a tip on this.
He turned to walk away, and my ridiculous heart sank. Before I could berate myself for my ludicrous reaction, he turned back around and pulled something out of his pocket. A business card. He dropped it on the counter. If you ever change your mind, Charlie. So he hands over $400, his business card, and leaves us with questions. More questions and answers in a way.
So basically, he's a councilman, formal Navy vet. He has got to be older.
He has to be.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
So
it's not like Ben Wyatt. It's not like Ben Wyatt who became mayor when he was 18 in Parks and Rec.
How old do you have to be to run for Congress?
Congress has to have a limit, and I don't know about councilmen too.
Do you have to be to run for Congress? 25, at least 25, have been a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years and live in the state they represent. Okay, so he has to be at least 25, which is what we assume. We assume that he was older, like anyways.
Many states require elected municipal officers to be at least 18 years of old or 21 years of age. So, and we know that he served.
He served, lost buddies.
Lost buddies served, went to a naval academy. He's got to be, and he's running for Congress after being a councilman for just like, I don't know how long. Because like, no one in their right mind is going to be like, oh yeah, this
guy's clearly got a lot of experience. And he's right now spending his time
at
like, Voodoo Inc. for days.
I'm pretty sure he's got to be like
30 something.
I think he's 33.
And she's 22.
And Charlotte's 23 now.
23, right, a year later. Okay.
There's got to be at least a 10-year age gap.
So, to round out this section that we read, so Simon and Charlie have met each other. Simon has asked Charlie on a date. She has turned him down. Constantine has been cock-blocking left and right because he is obviously wants to bang Charlotte. That's why he keeps grabbing her ass and slapping her ass.
In the middle of the workday, in the actual shop, he opens up the door where she's almost naked and leaves it open, slaps her butt, says, let's do this later.
Yeah. Delilah is a lesbian that is fine with all these things that are happening apparently around her. She's not blowing the whistle.
I'm sorry, I would blow the whistle immediately if I were Delilah.
Especially since she knows or thinks she knows, or I guess she does know about a supposed homosexual assault for Charlie at one point. So you think she'd be a little protective of her. Meanwhile, their boss is slapping her thonged ass in the back, left and right,
and
paying her under the table and offering to pay more money and constantly being like, I want you to come home with me.
That's not
but
weird
he's a
at
great
all.
businessman.
He's a very astute businessman.
He's astute.
He's really racking up the kind of things that you want to see in an audit.
And she if anyone knows about good business, it's
Charlotte 100%.
Because her father was arguably one of the greatest businessmen to ever do business.
I don't even think Charlotte worked for his company.
No, she was too busy doing charity work.
She literally just graduated.
Being laughed out of charity.
She just graduated college.
Yes.
So like, I don't understand either. Where she's got this finance degree. I don't know. It's weird and she still carries around her original ID. If she gets pulled over, she's gonna have to provide her original ID.
Also,
I don't understand why she's hiding her identity.
So she cashed out $20,000, right?
$20,000.
She
had already had a plane ticket
previous to Atlanta. That. So we got to assume she was in Atlanta for some period of time.
She took a Greyhound bus to NOLA.
Yeah,
I think that was the intention. She's like, it's the only way to get to my final destination. I don't know.
Yes,
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say I think Louisiana probably has an airport.
Yeah, like Baton Rouge and stuff like that.
Somewhere, right?
I think New Orleans has an airport.
Why not fly directly there? Did she not want to be tracked? She's like, I took a bus from Atlanta to How far is a bus ride?
I'm
from
just wondering
Atlanta
how
to
far
New
this
Orleans?
$20,000 has gotten her, or if she has spent it all on tattoos, is what I'm wondering, because you and I both know, again, tattoos can get expensive. She is covered in them. How much money is Khan and Delilah not charging her money for these tattoos? That's what I want to know, because that would also make him not a good businessman if... Think about this.
Dude, it is a 6 hour and 37-minute drive without traffic
Okay.
from Atlanta to Louisiana.
Okay. So it was like a 6-hour bus ride.
Probably
so
like
she
8
spent
hours.
some of her money there. But think about this, though. So Khan's a good businessman. She's covered in tattoos. Is she paying for these tattoos? Because otherwise he's
question.
giving out free tattoos to her.
Free tattoos, under the table money.
She's
doesn't
still paying-
ask who she is.
She's paying rent still.
She's paying rent to another landlady who knows who she is
Yes.
because her crazy best friend and all this stuff, who they're hiding
So
her
the
identity.
first police officer who says, "Hey Harriet, have you seen Charlotte Augustin anywhere here in New Orleans?" She'll be like, "Well, yeah. I rent her a room." Because my guess is Charlotte hasn't said, "Hey Harriet, don't ever tell anybody that I'm here." By the way, I know
or
this
her
is kinda
best
weird.
friend, or
Yeah.
contacted her best friend to
Lena,
find this place. So
yeah.
her best friend knows she's there. And if I were any self-respecting agent of the law,
I would talk to
be
the
like,
former
who are her
roommates.
known
Yeah.
accomplishments? Oh, best friend? Cool. I'm going to go
Yeah.
talk to her.
Crazy best friend who lives in Madagascar. They said
With the Peace Corps.
lives in Madagascar. No, she was in the Peace Corps. Now it said she left the Peace Corps and moved to Madagascar, which I didn't think anybody did except for parrots.
I thought it was just full of dancing lemurs.
Now I'll just let you know, because I have read ahead, that this story goes
Buck Wild?
wild.
Okay, can't
We're
wait.
talking law enforcement. We're talking
Yeah.
sexual
Oh my
encounters.
God.
We're talking about some wild sex scenes that are coming up. If you thought the sex scenes,
I say we didn't read we should read an excerpt from a sex scene.
Oh, we'll get there. When we get to those steamy scenes, we'll definitely do the excerpt for that. So I do want to let everybody know, next episode we'll be doing chapters 6 through 10. That will be coming up here whenever we record again.
Maybe this week, maybe next
in a
week.
few months. I don't know. But I wanted to give a little teaser. Those who follow us on Instagram will know this pull quote already, but I have it pulled up. So this will be.
boy.
So this is a teaser, a quote from the next section.
I'm ready. I haven't read past 5.
Don't break my heart, Charlie. I slid my hands up through his dark hair, hoping he could see everything I felt for him, everything I was afraid to put into words, not without shattering my own.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, who's saying "Don't break my heart, Charlie"? So someone
Simon
said
is
that.
saying that.
Simon said that to
theory.
her. She's combing her hands through his hair, and she says, "Not without shattering my own."
This is one of my
Interesting.
favorite quotes from it.
I don't need words, just you.
We've got some great
I
content
cannot
coming.
wait.
This has been part 1
Beneath-
of Bad Book Club.
Beneath this
Yep.
mask.
Beneath this mask.
But is it beneath this or the?
This. Beneath this mask.
Beneath this mask by Megan March. It's for free.
It is for free on Kindle. If this didn't get you into it, as
I don't
far
know
as
what
one,
will.
I don't know what will, because
I
this
don't.
is clearly the best.
It's better written.
There's nobody else that has gone in depth with Beneath This Mask like this show. The Random Word Podcast Bad Book Club, it shines lights on the books that deserve it.
It
you would
does,
think.
yes, absolutely.
So we will,
While
since we do
utilizing
have-
a $0
we do have
budget.
Megan March's contact information.
I think at the end of the book, or maybe midway through, we bring her on.
gotta
Maybe we
get her
ask
on.
some probing questions about her characters.
Yes, I want to know more. I want to
Who
know
did
more.
you have in mind when you were designing Simon?
Yeah.
We should do that. A peek behind the curtain.
I would love to do that. Well, that's something we will do. I promise you that, Random. Well, we're gonna try. We'll reach out to her. Maybe she'll tell us to go F ourselves. We'll see. That about does it for this episode of Bad Book Club Part 1 for Beneath This Mask. That is Salty Dalton. I am Ben. We will see you next for Part 2, Chapters 6 through 10. Sayonara, my sweet suckers.
We outie.